control operator for the River City ARC Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City ARC members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions, and Net Control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact Net Control by saying break, break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I'll recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Alpha India 6, Delta Golf.
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec.
We had a double. I got Joel AI6DG and Bob N6PGQ. Other stations, go ahead.
Kilo Lima 7 Hotel, Quebec, Romeo, Neil.
KL7HQR, Neil. Other stations?
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta.
November 6, Alpha Charlie Uniform. Mark, good evening. Other stations, please come now.
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta.
Hi, Carol, KP4MD. So far I have 5 plus me, AI6DG, N6PGQ, KL7HQR, N6ACU, KP4MD, and me, AE6JG. Anyone else?
Good evening, James and the net. This is Steve, KN6VDP, in Arden Arcade. Unfortunately, I won't be participating in the slow scan, but I did want to check in. Back to you.
Hi, Steve, KN6VDP. You could watch on our live YouTube stream if you'd like, and then I could come around for your comment on what you see. You'll be able to see what we're transmitting.
KN6VDP, I've done that in the past, yes. I plan on doing it.
Okay, then I'll plan on coming around to you for comment when we get to that point. Any other stations wanting to check in? I also know that Jen in Nicaragua may be watching KI1TTY, maybe tuned in as well. Okay, Joel, you're first, AS6DG.
PE120.
had a rough beginning there, Joel, but I got a clean copy of the photo. So that the black top has, maybe it's the station ID, some colored line through it. And I'm guessing that that's some sort of door lock or latch, but a really good copy on the photo itself. Bob, N6PGQ.
Yeah, I think it's some kind of a covered part. Doesn't look like an engine part to me. It looks like it may be frozen, considering we have penetrating oil and WD-40 and a bunch of other things like that trying to make it work. So be interesting to know what part that is that's on the bench in 6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. KL7, HQR.
Roger, it's Neil, KL7HQR. Good evening, everybody. Same thing here. Had a little rough time here on the beginning, but I think it was my equipment here, not your transmission. Otherwise, good picture. Yeah, I don't know anything about that kind of machinery to identify. I can see a couple of screws or bolts in there. I definitely see the WD-40, and I'm kind of curious to know what's going on. It must be something related to your automobile. So back to that.
Mark, November 6, Alpha Charlie Uniform.
Yes, good evening to all on the net. This is Mark, November 6, Alpha Charlie Uniform. Received the image just fine. I too also got kind of rough start there. Noticed monitoring the audio that there was a little burst of white noise that occurred around that time where you get that band of speckled color in the black part of the image. So I'm not sure if it was the repeater or some other sort of intermod coming through. In any case, yeah, my guess is it looks like, it reminds me of a trunk latch, you know, with the lock and all that. So that's my guess. Definitely can see some penetrating oil and some WD-40. And, you know, the red can can't quite make it out. It's definitely some sort of a lubricant of some sort. That's about all I got. Back to net, N6ACU.
Thanks, Mark. Carol, KP4MD.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. I can read on the red can, I can read something that says long-lasting lubricant. That I can read. Heavy duty, can't read what's below it. And then there's another oil can to the left, that white oil can. And the WD-40, and then you can see the cylinder for the key. That's directly in front of the WD-40 and that long-lasting lubricant. So this is definitely a lock. I guess it is from a car, because that you wouldn't have that kind of cylinder, lock cylinder in a door. And very interesting. Back to Netscape. And by the way, I want to know if there's any feedback on the composition of the picture on YouTube, because we're using the stream deck here tonight. KP for Mike Delta.
Carol, what are you asking for feedback on?
The presentation on the YouTube image, if anybody's watching there, because we're using the stream deck with it right now. Over.
Oh, copy. Okay. I'm seeing it looks real good, and I'm seeing that it's automatically transcribing, which is very cool. Steve, KN6VDP, comments on the photo.
KN6VDP, Steve here. The picture looks immaculate. The top, what is that, 1/4 didn't come through, but it sounded like it got stuck in a loop and couldn't send anything. It definitely a trunk latch, because you've got the wiring for the remote release, and then you got the key so that it can be opened with a key. But it's a good-looking picture. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Steve. Also, Alf has joined us, KN6PRD. So we have Alf and Steve, who just spoke on YouTube, and Jen from Nicaragua. That's great. So any of you online, feel free to comment on the photos as well, and we'll pick it up and add it to the discussion. Okay, Joel, I think the red and white can in the middle is probably some sort of grease, but tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's my project tonight. And in fact, I've got it in the car already. This is before I reassembled everything. So the cans in the background, yeah, WD-40, although I didn't actually use that. In this case, I have for some of my other things I've been working on that car recently. The one in the middle is white lithium grease spray-on type. And then the white one that says oil is 3-in-1 oil. You just can't see the top of that. Oh, by the way, yes, it's black on the top and the bottom. This is letterbox because SSTV is still in the 4.3 aspect ratio world. It's ancient software, and every picture I take now is going to be 16:9 high def, or even worse, maybe even wider. So you're always going to have a bar on the top and the bottom of almost any picture from me, unless it's one I took a long time ago. This is the latch on the back, on the trunk of my Audi, and the Audi's been acting up. Even though I keep telling myself I'm not going to work on that car, I've started doing things on that car, and this project is part of trying to figure out how come the car doesn't know when the driver door is open. So you open the door, and then it doesn't realize that the door is open or that it's closed. I'm not sure which. And I was recently in the trunk area because the latch assembly itself, not this is the actuator assembly. The latch assembly bolts had worked loose, and it wouldn't latch. So I took it apart, tightened the bolts, and it still wouldn't latch, and figured out how to adjust the alignment. But while I was in there working on all of that, I noticed a little plastic piece that was in the bottom of the of the cover, and it broke off of this. So if you look at the little black thing in the middle bottom, you might notice a slightly gray section on the black plastic. That's where I epoxied the plastic piece back on. So just in case that little black plastic piece that broke off had something to do with all the sensors and levers and solenoids and motors and things, and caused the car to not know if the door was open or not, I decided to put that back together, to glue it back together. In the meanwhile, I have a new driver door latch assembly that should be here tomorrow that is very well known to usually be the cause of that problem, because there's a micro switch in there that breaks. Back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. Alf KN6PRD suggests 3D printing a new part. Well, I know that Audis are probably pretty difficult to work on relative to other cars, so I'm impressed that you're doing that. Any comments or questions for Joel?
Sell the car.
Too much money in it, and besides, it would cost me way too much money to replace it with like. And I have known problems that I can fix versus unknown problems in another used car, although in a new car it would cost way too much money. Yeah, that is definitely a consideration. It's just old. I mean, so everything like this is expected. Old cars, things start breaking.
Thanks, Bob, for your comment and your response, Joel. N6PGQ, are you ready to send an image? This is James, Alpha Echo 6 Juliet Golf for ID.
Okay, this is N6PGQ, and it probably is the second to the last that I'm doing in the series. Should be PD120.
Bob, that's a great picture. KL7HQR. You go first.
Roger, KL7HQR. Yeah, very, very good picture here. Just the one thing that I noticed that we had the repeater ID just below the center of the picture, just above the center of the picture there. But outside of that, very, very good picture. I would assume, since I know Bob has a tractor, I don't remember seeing a tractor, but I would guess that that's what it looks to me. A picture of the steering wheel of the tractor. Let's see. Back to that.
Well, you very well could be right, Neil. I see the choke pull lever and some of the other things. I bet Joel right now is thinking of maybe trading his Audi to you, Bob, for this. Mark, N6ACU.
Yeah, I copied the image pretty well. There was a band of interference just below the bolt of what looks to be the steering wheel. Can't quite make out the details very well on the gauges. The one on the right almost looks like it says oil, but I can't quite tell. Maybe a pressure gauge of some sort. And the other side may be a fuel gauge. But again, I can't quite make it out. Everything else looks really good. Good color. Definitely would appear to be a vintage tractor of some sort. Could be wrong. Back to net. N6ACU.
Thanks, Mark. I also think I see the starter in the lower left, and that gauge on the right might be an amp meter or something, and the one on the left might be fuel, but we'll figure it out. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. Wow. It's very interesting. Oops. Okay, I'm here. Trying something new here with the Stream Deck. Yeah, I could see on the left the gauge looks like it has a negative on to the left and a positive to the right, and maybe the neutral position is up center where it is, and I don't know what kind of gauge you would have on a dashboard that would go either to the negative or the positive. Maybe it has something to do with charging of the battery or something. The gauge on the right side reads from 0 to 50, and it looks like the needle is pointing somewhere around 30. I'm guessing that that little knob just below the right gauge may be a choke control. That because I've seen chokes before that look something like that. And steering wheel is right. It looks like it's a steering wheel right in the center. Part of a tractor. This is what I'm guessing because I can't imagine this being a motorcycle or a car or anything. So back to net. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. The Stream Deck's working well. I can see you on the YouTube Live. The way you've got things laid out there, it's really great. I also noticed that the shifter on the right side, which is red, I'm guessing it's a 3-speed tractor or something. Let's see, who hasn't commented? Steve, KN6 VDP, and then we'll go to Joel. Steve, go ahead.
KN6 VDP, maybe a riding lawnmower or small utility tractor. It's a good image over on YouTube, and you can definitely see that interference when the repeater ID. Back to you.
Thanks, Steve. Joel, AI6DG.
Well, it's all pretty much already been said. They definitely got a nice patina to it, to the steering wheel, the nut, and so forth. So it's got a decent amount of age on it. And yeah, is that the shifter that's kind of below and just to the right of the steering wheel and above the oil meter? Otherwise, yeah, we got the starter down in the lower left, and it's probably in a shed or something because you can kind of see debris around it in the background. But I thought it might be a scooter, but no, a scooter wouldn't have those gauges. This is a tractor, so a little putt small garden. Well, I don't know how small, but it's not a big tractor, that's for sure. But definitely in realm of analog, and I don't think the new John Deeres would have anything like this, nor be anywhere near as easy to work on. Back to Net AI6TG.
Thanks, Joel. Jen, KI1TTY on YouTube, says it looks like a center point sprinkler. Okay, let's see. Any other comments or questions for Bob on the picture? Well, actually, Bob, why don't you tell us about it, and then we'll do that. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, well, this is a immediately post-war Ford 8N tractor, and people are commenting fairly well. The left is an ammeter, left is discharge, and right is charge. That's the way Fords work. The right is the oil pressure gauge, which you want to watch, because if you don't have oil in the engine, it kind of destroys itself. And people already commented that the white knob is the choke knob to get the car to start, or actually the tractor. And the rod that you see that people have been saying is a shifter is the throttle for the tractor. And if you look where the rod goes into the cowl, you'll notice an indicator, and then just below the right spoke for the wheel are some little indents, and that's where you can leave the throttle so that you can do all of your tractor work without playing with the throttle. There's no foot throttle. The starter is on the bottom left, and the two vertical rods on the right side are the brake rods. It has mechanical brakes, and since there are two of them, you can brake on an individual wheel so that you can make a tighter turn. So you push the left brake pedal down to turn left and the right brake pedal down to turn right. Let me drop this for a second. I don't know how much you want to know, but these were designed right around World War II, and some people claim that it allowed the people that worked on the farm to go off and fight the battles, because the tractors would replace the horse-drawn implements and things like that, and allow you to do a lot more work with a lot less people. This was designed to work on, as they said, you could farm 6 days a week, and on Sunday you could take the thing apart and work on it. Everything is very modular. You could buy a kit from Ford that would include new pistons and pistons and sleeves, and you could easily take them out, rebuild the engine. It's a flathead engine with an updraft carburetor, and the thing will start on about the third turn after sitting for most all the winter, because there's no fuel pump. The gasoline comes from the tank that's right in front of you and goes directly down to the carburetor. And it's a pretty good little tractor. The only thing I'm not looking forward to is buying it new tires. N6 PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Now I'll ask for questions. Any questions for Bob and his tractor? All right. Well, Bob, I know that's part of your analog photo series. I think it's really cool what you've been doing. Neil, KL7HQR, are you ready to transmit?
Now, let me give it a test on a tone first. Okay, go ahead to the next person. I lost my tone.
Oh, yeah, if that was your test, then you lost your tone. You want to try again?
As always, I probably have to reboot the application.
Okay, we will go to Mark, N6ACU. Mark, are you ready to share an image?
Yeah, I do have one image queued up. Just curious about the sending of the test tone. Now I'm using the SSTV, and I'm curious about how you guys are doing the test tone. Over.
Copy. So when you're in text, TX mode, next to the red TX, there's a 1750 button. Just hit that on and off, and that'll generate a test tone.
Okay, copy that. Thank you. Let's give that a quick test. I just want to check my ALC here.
Well done. Perfect tone.
Okay, very good. So we're going to go ahead and transmit the image PD 120.
That's an excellent image, Mark. I have some pixel pops. But excellent image, very cool picture. I look forward to hearing more about it. Let's see, Carol, are you ready to comment, KP4MD?
Sure. This is KP4MD. This is fun. Yeah, a very interesting picture. It looks like the top of a mountain, maybe an overlook over a wooded area, and there seems to be a little kind of like, I don't know if that's an outhouse or whatever, but it's a very small building on an outcrop there on a very high point. Beautiful picture, beautiful reception. I hardly see any pixel pops at all. You see, I can see the enlarged version here. Yeah, actually I do have about a couple dozen, but you see them mostly over the blue sky. Very interesting. Unless this is some kind of a Photoshop. It's weird. It looks like this outhouse. Yeah, it looks like an outhouse, and it's perched right on top of a pinnacle. It's a little unusual. Back to you. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, a good place for a ham shack, I guess. Let's see. Steve, KN6VDP. If you can see the image, go ahead and comment.
KN6VDP, Steve here. Yeah, I see the pixel pops, if that's what those are. Yeah, and it's nice looking country there, and definitely looks like an outhouse to me. Yeah, I wonder if there's a bottom to it. Anyway, back to you.
Thanks, Steve. This is AE6JG. Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead.
Well, it's definitely one of the more interesting locations to have a loo. But there's no windows. How can you enjoy the view while you're doing your business? I mean, they used to have a little wall and a little throne to sit on the top of Mount Whitney. So you I won't go any further. They took it down. I mean, the National Park Service has gotten a little picky about what they let out in wilderness. So that makes me actually proceed to the question of where is this in? Is it BLM land, National Park land, private land? But and what's before this? Because literally all you see is this little bitty ledge right in front of the outhouse and open space in the entire frame, looking back to ridges and trees and more ridges and more trees and the horizon, and it gets further and further away to the curvature of the earth to the end. I mean, you definitely would not want to step the wrong way as you're getting out of that. But it looks like an amazing spot, and yes, they want to know more. But I would definitely want a window on the back of that so that I could, or the side of it so I could enjoy the view. Back to Net AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. The discussion on YouTube live stream is quite good, and there is a comment that it's really the best of both worlds, a ham shack and an outhouse. You never have to leave, I guess. Bob, N6PGQ.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully I'm getting close. I don't see any vents on that. And every outhouse I've been to has some kind of a vent to get rid of odors. And the other thing is it isn't sitting on porous ground. It looks like it's awful rocky. So I don't know who's going to go up there and empty the thing, but it sure wouldn't be an effective one. And it looks like on the left side there's a fairly large window on it. And I wouldn't want an outhouse with a window on the side of it. So it's going to be interesting to see. Picture quality's good, not too many pixel pops in the sky, and this is way up in the sky. So I'm going to be interested to see where this is in N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. This is AE6JG. Neil, KL7HQR.
Yeah, it's KL7HQR. Not much to add, except for the quality of the picture. Really, really sharp blues on the sky. And on my copy here, I can count very, very few pops on the blue. The rocky area on the near foreground, I see no problems whatsoever with the definition of the picture. I agree that there is a window, what appears to be a window on the left side. It looks more like a sentry guard post of some kind, but I have no idea what they would be doing, having one of those up on top of the mountain. Very, very good picture, very interesting and curious. Back to that, KL7HQR.
Thanks, Neil. Mark, N6ACU, back to you. What do we see here?
All right, thanks, James. This is N6ACU, Mark. Glad to know I stumped you all here, kind of. Most of you are right. This is indeed an outhouse. This is what I refer to as the loneliest outhouse. Other folks call it the outhouse at the end of the world. This is at Grouse Ridge Lookout, which is off Bowman Lakes Road, off Highway 70 in the Tahoe National Forest. It's an old fire lookout, and just a short distance from the fire lookout, they constructed this incredible outhouse. And the elevation there is about 7,700 feet. And from the precipice on which the outhouse sits, it's a sheer drop. I would estimate at least 200 feet down. I mean, it is dizzying, and even just getting near the door to the loo takes a bit of courage. I've only had the courage to used that outhouse once, and it was quite an experience. And it tends to get very, very windy up there. So, man, I mean, just easy to get blown off that spot. I'm just going to drop the mic for a sec here. N6ACU here for ID. Yeah, so you guys got it. It's an outhouse, and you might be able just to barely make out the commode in the shadows of that door. There are no windows, unfortunately. But, you know, I'm not sure if having a window would be good or not. I mean, the view is incredible, but I don't know if it would help or hinder the evacuation of the intestinal tract there. Anyways, back to net control, N6ACU. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions or comments for Mark? And then Carol, you're going to go next.
AI60.
Go ahead, Joel.
I've got to ask, does it just empty out down the mountainside, or is there a vault there, or is it like one of the little porta potties where there's a small little blue water compartment underneath it? How do they handle the material?
Yeah, excellent question. I don't fully know the answer to that. I've explored it a little bit. It seems to be a pit toilet of some sort. It sits on a concrete block that's probably about 20 feet tall. So I have a feeling there's just a vault that holds all that, and I'm not sure if they pump it. There is a road that goes up to there, so I imagine they probably clean it out periodically. It's actually the cleanest outhouse around. It's worth the drive to use that loo. The other outhouse down at the Grouse Ridge campsite is pretty gross. You know, typical Forest Service outhouse. Kind of scared to go in there sometimes. This one is it's clean as a whistle. Back to net, N6ACU.
Any other questions or comments for Mark?
L7HQR would like to do a tone test.
Go ahead, Neil.
Still negative. Please go ahead.
I think my dog heard it, but I could not hear it. Yeah, it's not working. Sorry. Carol, KP4MD, it's your turn to transmit an image. Mark, thank you for that image. That's a really cool image.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark, for that. It was kind of a head scratcher. Anyway, this picture is going to be PD 120, and here it goes. Let's see how this works.
KP4MD. Well, I got a good image. There are a lot of throughout little white pixel pops. Alpha's saying he got those too. This kind of reminds me of something that Jules Verne may have had in mind when he wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Steve, KN6VDP, do you see the image?
KN6VDP, roger that, James. Looks like some sort of a tapestry, maybe? Image, picture, it's art. It's got good detail to it. And I'm not seeing many pixel pops on it, but it's a good image, and I'm going to go with it like a piece of art or a tapestry. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Steve. Joel, AI6DG.
Reasonable reception. There are quite a few pops, but it's an interesting image. I mean, this is the kind of thing that reminds me of like a Roman mosaic that you'd find on one of their villas or something like that. Whether it's that or a tapestry or something newer, I don't know, but definitely aquatic. So we've got, I can't tell if it's mosaic or tapestry, but we've got a black background, and in front of that we got squid and octopus and all kinds of fish and eel and lobster and geez, they're all swimming around, and can't tell, is that octopus eating that lobster? Is that what it is, a lobster? Yeah, need more info. Look forward to the explanation. What and where? Back to Net AI6DG.
Joel, I don't know if you're watching YouTube, but Carol now is able to control different images on the screen, and I saw her give you a thumbs up while you were talking. So, Bob, I guess that gives you a little bit of a hint. N6PGQ, go ahead.
Well, I've been wrong tonight on a couple of things, but it looks kind of like a tapestry to me also. You know, squid on the right side and a fish on the upper side, and an octopus in the middle and a larger fish, and maybe a small shark on the bottom left. Interesting. I'm going to be interested to see where Carol found this N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Neil, KL7HQR.
Roger, KL7HQR. I got, on my reception, I got only about the bottom 20% of the picture. I was trying to reboot the computer, but looking at the YouTube picture, the quality of what I got was good. It was just the lower part. Not much else to add. Good picture, and curious to know if it is. I think I agree with Bob that it looks more like a tapestry than a mosaic. Back to it.
Thanks, Neil. Mark, N6ACU.
Yeah, thanks, James. This is N6ACU. Yeah, interesting. My reception on this particular image was really poor for some reason, and looking at the YouTube image, that does not seem to be reflected elsewhere. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe I need to examine the settings on my radio. It was almost as if the signal was clipping as it was coming in. I've got quite a bit of streaking and pixel pops and that sort of thing. The image is not particularly clear. I mean, I can make out the big fish, a couple of the big fish at the bottom, what looks to be an octopus in the middle, but the banner at the top is definitely it's pretty speckled and hard to read. So I think I got to review my settings here on the 857. Back to net, N6ACU.
N6ACU. Well, before you touch your settings, let Carol explain why when she transmits an image, it's almost always perfect, and it has to do with the fact that she's transmitting to herself right there at the same desk. That's not to say maybe you don't need to make adjustments, but I wouldn't make an adjustment quite yet. Carol, KP4MD, can you tell us what we are looking at, please?
Yeah, sure. This is KP4MD. This is if you're seeing like streaks and spots throughout the picture, actually you're supposed to be there because this is a mosaic. It's little tiny bits of tiles, so the whole thing is going to be kind of pixelated because of that. This is a mosaic of sea creatures that's located in the National Archaeological Museum in Naples. I personally haven't been there, but this is from the House of the Faun, F-A-U-N. It's not a baby deer. It's that kind of faun. F-A-U-N is also known as a satyr, I guess. It's a mythological creature that has the bottom of a human and the top of a goat. Or no, it's the other way around, like the Pan. Okay, the god Pan. Human top, goat bottom. And the House of the Faun had this mosaic in Pompeii, and tremendously well preserved. And it's thought that I captured this from the internet because I'm really interested in classical architecture and art as well. And it's just amazing the diversity of sea creatures you see here. Yes, that's an octopus on top of a lobster, and to the right of that is an eel, and I think the one you can see the squid in the upper right. I think you can see a little shark there, just a little bit above the tail of the eel. Curious, if you look in the middle left, all the way to the left edge, it looks like there's a little outcropping, and there's a bird perched on top of that outcropping there that's poking out of the ocean. So it's thought that this mosaic was representing the culinary products of the sea. Interesting, but it's I thought it would be a good thing, a good challenge to try to identify all of the different creatures on there and to see how it came over a slow scan, which I think is relatively good. But let me drop it a moment here. Okay, yeah, that's just not to time out the repeater. But the reason you see it so clear is on YouTube is because you're just getting the decoding of my own signal coming through MMS STV. I have it in loopback, so it's decoding the tones that I'm sending out, and it's not going through the repeater, so you're not going to see any kind of interference. All of the other transmissions that you're seeing coming through YouTube are what I'm receiving from the repeater. So back to net. This is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. That's really interesting. Yeah, it's a depiction of seafood. I get that now. That makes sense. Are there questions or comments for Carol? Mark, do you have any questions about your reception?
Not at this point. I mean, it definitely didn't receive it as well as many of the other images in the past, and I'm still just kind of curious if something on my end or what's going on. So, but thank you, Carol, for explaining that. It is a beautiful image. I've been appreciating it on the YouTube live feed simultaneously here, and yeah, that's just a lovely mosaic. And thanks for filling me in on the YouTube retransmit there. Back to net, N6ACU.
Thanks, Mark. Any other questions for Carol? Do you want to try again?
I think we double the scale 7 HQR. Let me try one more time. Nope, definitely not operating. So I will just be a watcher tonight, and I'm sorry. We will try to have it ready for next week. Back to net.
Okay, I have an image. I will send it PD 120. AI6DG, why don't you go first?
Beautiful blue sky with puffy clouds, trees on the right from foreground to the distance, trees on the left from mid-range to background with a row of telephone poles, actually power poles, since the power line's on the top, although there may be something at the mid-level of the pole, like telephone or something. A curved pointing down lamp on that pole in the near ground. Cherry blossoms, it looks like, although it's kind of hard to tell for sure, but it looks like we've got some pink cherry blossoms. And something in the near field center just to the right, but it's just the edge of it, so I can't tell. Maybe the lights on the front, the back of a bus or something. I don't know. Very blue. Back to net, AI6DG.
AI6DG, thanks. Bob, N6PGQ.
Well, I can't add much more. Picture might be recent. It does look like there's a phone cable down below the power lines. That's the only thing I can comment on there. Nice picture. Few pixel pops in the sky, but really nice fluffy clouds, good contrast. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Neil, KL7HQR.
Roger. Well, it's kind of hard to follow Joe because his descriptions are so thorough. But I agree with Bob. Looks like it could be today. We were looking at the sky, and we had the storm coming in from the north, and we saw lots of cumulus like we have here. And some of them will start getting pretty cumulus nimbus very quickly later during the day. But a beautiful picture, very sharp difference in colors and gradation of colors on the clouds. So very good. Back to net.
Thanks, Neil. Alf, KN6PRD, thanks for joining us tonight on YouTube. Mark, N6ACU.
Well, definitely getting sort of an avant-garde rendition here. With this second image, I can see that something has definitely changed with my reception, and it's almost as if my front end is overloading. I've got a pretty pixelated image. Color rendition is not particularly good, especially looking, comparing it to the YouTube image. It's more of a cyan, light cyan colored blue sky there. It's definitely still visually interesting, but I'm a little concerned about what's going on with my radio here. So I think with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and sign off for the evening. It's been a pleasure to join you all once again. I look forward to next time that I can bring some more images. This is N6ACU. I will be clear. 7-3.
7-3, Mark. Good luck on your radio. Let us know if you ever want to run some tests, either during a Wednesday night net or sometime before. Thanks for joining us. Carol, KP4MD.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. I really can't add too much to what people have said. Cumulus clouds, good contrast between the clouds and the deep blue sky there. I see the horizontal bar towards the very bottom, across the very bottom, and I know that came when the repeater ID came on. And I don't know if it's been explained to Mark that a lot of the pixel pops you're going to see, there's going to be some of them due to a weak signal from a station getting into the repeater, but some of those are going to be due to the pave pause radar up at Beale Air Force Base. They have a multi-megawatt transmitter that sends pulses throughout the band, 420 to 450 megahertz, and it's always going to cause a little bit of interference on the pictures, but that's because we share the band with the government. So, and we're not causing any problems with their reception. a lot of repeaters had to go off the air or really drastically reduce their power, but it hasn't really affected our repeater that much. This repeater, by the way, is only running 5 watts, believe it or not. But it's up at 2,000 feet. That's why it has such good coverage. So that's it from my end, and back to Net Controls, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. I did not know the repeater was only running at 5 watts. That's impressive. Steve, KN6VDP.
KN6VDP, Steve here. Can't add much to what everyone said, but I would like to congratulate you on your new call sign. This is KN6VDP. Back to you, James.
Thanks, Steve. This is AE6JG. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. Well, I did take this picture today. I was walking into my office this afternoon. It just seemed pretty, and I realized I needed something. And in the spirit of Bob, I keep trying to find things that are sort of analog, so I'm going to add this to the list of analog things. But that's about it. This was over by Florin Perkins and Fruit Ridge area. So any other comments or questions before I close the net? Hearing none, thanks to everybody who participated in tonight's Slow Scan TV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 10:03 p.m. This is James, AE6JG, wishing all of you a very good evening.
Okay, very good evening, James, and thanks for a wonderful net. I think it went very smoothly, and I'm really happy the Stream Deck is doing a good job. Take care. This is KP4MD Clear.
Thanks, Carol. And I really liked the way you organized the images on YouTube tonight. And it was very cool to be able to see you when you switched yourself on, so we could see you chatting. I think that I'm glad that that Stream Deck thing is working so well.
Roger 73s, and thanks to everyone also who joined us on a YouTube chat. It's KP4MD now clear.